And they've got it off. Here comes Carr. Steps back. Now he comes up, going to fire again. Left side. Going for it. Ruggs. Ruggs has got it. Touchdown. Jackpot, baby. Vegas touchdown. Vegas touchdown. Jackpot. And away.
Wow. Well, you wanted to get the ball to Ruggs. You say get the ball to Ruggs, Brent. There you go.
So, to be fair, we often criticize defensive coordinators and head coaches for changing up their game plan late in the game, going into that prevent defense and allowing teams to march down the field. And you wonder why get rid of something that you've been doing all game that's worked. This was not that. Okay, to illustrate how unprecedented this was, let me just tell you that since 2006, there have been 379 plays in the final 20 seconds of the fourth quarter where the offense was trailing by 4 to 8 points. Only 9 times has a defense blitzed 5 or more rushers, so like 1 extra rusher. The Jets sent 8, leaving Lamar Jackson, an undrafted rookie free agent, one-on-one with the first wide receiver taken in this last year's draft and arguably the fastest player in football, and they paid for it dearly. And as unfortunate as it always is when there is coaching turnover, Greg Williams paid for it with his job. He has been fired as the defensive coordinator for the Jets. And on it goes. The Jets felt like they could taste their first win after that fourth down stop. And then, of course, the Raiders figure it out. But this was unbelievable to see that kind of call late. And according to Mike Silver, who told us about it on Game Day Final last night, the Raiders expected it because of Greg Williams' ego, his reputation, wanting to come after the quarterback and win with a play like that rather than not lose. So it came back to bite him this time.
It did come back to bite him. And here's the thing, and I won't give Greg Williams a pass on the call, but I can understand why he might have been spooked enough to dial up a pressure. The play before, they're playing a soft zone, and Nelson Aguilar runs by the back end of the defense and is wide open. Derek Carr just misses him. The next play, Greg Williams decides, no, we're going to heat him up. We're not going to give him that kind of time. I think the bad thing about this is really the lack of execution, not only from Lamar Jackson because he's a rookie. Sometimes you just have to understand the situation, keep the ball in front, don't go for the double moves and the like. But when you dial up a cover zero blitz, you can't have the linebacker just kind of hanging around the box and not blitzing. Because when you expose your corners like that, they're counting on the pressure to make the ball come out quick. And so I would say it wasn't a great call, but the execution or lack thereof also needs to be talked about.
Yeah, I mean, the confusing part about that is I thought there was a chance he might have been checking to see if the back or the tight end was going to release. You know, you don't want to get caught naked and they just dump the ball down to a back or a tight end. You've got nobody for him. So I thought that's why there was some hesitancy. I don't know if it was the linebacker or the safety who was the one dropped down there who just kind of hung and didn't end up coming. But you can't make that call. I know what you're saying, Buck, about that ball to Aguilar, but that's, you know, if you need to get your guys together and say, hey, just keep it in front, man. Just play with depth, keep it in front. I always like if you want to play 2-man or whatever and just park those safeties in the parking lot, then go that route. But man, it's not only that coverage, but then Rhett touched on it, the individual matchup. You've got an undrafted rookie free agent out there who takes the cheese, as we like to say, on the double move, which is
unbelievable.
You'd hope he'd have better instincts than that, but know who you're playing with.
Right.
It's Lamar Jackson, undrafted free agent, who you're just trying to piecemeal a game together, and you've got him out there on an island with Henry Ruggs. You don't want to see somebody lose their job, but I wasn't necessarily surprised to see that happened. All right, let's keep us moving here. Let's go to the second takeaway. Let's go to the Chiefs in that big Sunday night win. Coffee's for closers.
Blocked, feet staggered, left hash, takes the snap at his left knee. She's trying to get pressure. Pass is going to be intercepted this time. And the Honey Badger gets his second of the game. Tyrann Mathieu, his second pick in the game, and his 5th of the season. You can't trick the Honey Badger late in the game, and the Kansas City Chiefs get the huge, big turnover to close the game again.
I was just thinking about the ability to close games for the Kansas City Chiefs. And when you look at the elements you need to be a good closer in the NFL, you've got to have, let's say you're behind, right? You're chasing. You got to close out a game. You got to finish. You've got an electric quarterback who can make plays, and you've got a money kicker who's good from 58, 60 yards. He's automatic in Butker. So you've got that from an offensive standpoint. Chasing points, you've got guys that can help you close games and finish that way. And then you look at defensively to have a pass rush, and you see it with Chris Jones and his ability to create pressure on the interior, his ability. And then you heard Tyrann Mathieu there with a pick to be able to close games out with playmakers on the back end. I think they have the best closing combination in the NFL. And Buck, the last thing I would add here is what an advantage in a 4-minute offense. We just got done talking about the Jets. If the Jets could have got another first down, they wouldn't have given the ball back to the Raiders for them to go down and finish that game. Well, they ran the ball because you want to eat clock, you run the ball and punt. Well, when you've got Patrick Mahomes, you don't have to just run the ball. You can trust him and the fact that you can get him on the move a little bit. If he's got a completion, he'll take it. It'll keep the clock moving. If not, he'll get down and keep the clock moving. But they give themselves more opportunities to eat clock and to close games from that standpoint because you can trust your quarterback to not just turn around and hand the ball off. You can actually let him throw the football in a 4-minute offense. It is an advantage they have over the rest of the league that, to me, I don't think it's talked about a lot.
No, it's not talked about a lot. And I think the Patrick Mahomes factor, we always talk about his talent and how he's just a generational talent at the position. But I think we need to talk more about his mind, his intelligence, his instincts, his awareness, because you're right, DJ. Third in the game on the line, you need it's a got-to-have-it moment. They put the ball in the hands of their best player, and they trust him to make the right decision. And so it just speaks volumes about who he is. I also believe on tomorrow's podcast, we might need to talk more about that closer and that closing combination because that's an interesting little combination that you came up with: quarterback, kicker, pass rusher, and playmaker in the secondary. I like that. We need to explore that.
Yeah, but guys, we're burying the lead here with this game because for the first time in known football history, a wide receiver actually thought he didn't catch a touchdown pass on a questionable call. Tyreek Hill, I mean, the ball never hit the ground on that would-be touchdown from Patrick Mahomes, sliding in the end zone, pops out of his hands, and then it never hits the ground. He catches it again, and he was just like, I guess, all right, incomplete, fine. I didn't catch it. I mean, I've never seen it before. Even if it's a blatantly obvious drop where it hits the ground, the wide receiver's popping up, calling for the challenge. Andy Reid's like, all right, I guess he didn't catch it. He didn't make a case for it. And they left 6 points on the board. That was unbelievable. But I also thought this part was interesting, too, because for a contender, you're talking about the ability to close, and I think that's really important. I thought the quote from Patrick Mahomes afterwards was actually really interesting. Talking about this team being battle-tested, understanding they played in a lot of tight football games, especially this season here, and they found ways to win. Every single team is going to bring their best shot, he said, and I think our guys did a great job of battling today and finding a way, which, you know, I guess for a team like that, with that kind of explosive ability, you don't think about them in these kind of dogfight type of games with a lesser opponent, right? But I feel like this just further builds their resume as a championship contender because they're showing us the different ways that they can win and will win and have the ability to win down the stretch. And I think it only serves them well, even if it wasn't as impressive a victory as we normally see from Kansas City.
I just think about having a sparring partner. To me, when you have a sparring partner and you get yourself into the deep rounds, how many times have you seen in boxing or in MMA where you see guys that are dominant fighters, but they usually handle their business in the first or second round, and all of a sudden they get taken out into the deep water and
trouble,
they don't know how to handle themselves. Yeah, they get themselves in trouble. And to me, I think this Chiefs team now has had a chance to play in those later rounds, and I think that's going to help them as they go forward. Buck, what's your first takeaway?
My first takeaway, Baker serves up the Titans.
Mayfield from under center, play action fake, bootlegs it out to the right. He's throwing down the right sideline. He's got Peoples-Jones wide open. He's gone. 20, 10, 5, touchdown! 75 yards on one play.
This was by far Baker Mayfield's best performance with the Cleveland Browns. It was a high-stakes contest. There was pressure on him to deliver. Everyone was looking at this contest to see, is Baker good enough to help the Browns not only get in the playoffs, but can they do some noise? He responded in splendid fashion. 4 touchdowns, had 300-yard game. And what I liked about him is he was in attack mode from the jump. He was accurate. He was efficient. He was really good with his decision making in terms of making sure that he kept the ball out of harm's way, and it really enabled the Browns to jump on the Tennessee Titans. Later on, they were able to get the running game going and do all that other stuff, and they did have to kind of hold on for dear life, but a very impressive first half. And if this is the version of Baker that we see from the Browns down the stretch and in the postseason, this is a team that teams do not want to face.
Baker Mayfield summoning the ghost of Otto Graham with 4 first-half passing touchdowns, tying Graham's franchise record. Then they come down in the final minute after the Baker touchdown pass number 4, and Nick Chubb gets in it. They scored 38 points in the first half. You think they were ready to play this game? You think they were ready to prove that they belonged on this stage with a team like the Titans to be considered among the real contenders here in the AFC? On the flip side for Tennessee, did Derrick Henry just look a little sluggish to you guys in this game?
Well, that's kind of always how he looks. He just needs a little bit of a runway, and Cleveland didn't give him one.
There you go. He got a little penetration in the backfield. We saw that on the turnover. Henry's first fumble in his last 357 touches or something. Sheldon Richardson got in there and forced that fumble, and that's when things kind of started to snowball for him in the first half.
I want to go to the 3 Ps because, Bucky, we've been talking about this forever on the podcast. We talk about the quarterbacks. The best way to help a young quarterback grow is the play caller, playmakers, and protection. I don't think anybody's ever doubted that Cleveland, throughout Baker's time there, has had some playmakers. When you look at what he's had at receiver, you look at who he's had in the backfield, he's had playmakers. But when you look at protection and play caller, they made massive upgrades with investments in free agency in the draft for the offensive line and then bringing in Kevin Stefanski to run this offense. They are so much better in that department. Let me give you an example of it, because I'm watching this game and I'm sitting here going, man, Baker's dealing, but he is just operating from such a clean pocket. And so you pull the next-gen stats, he was pressured on 1 of 33 dropbacks. That's 3%. That's the lowest pressure rate for Mayfield in a game in his career. So going up against this Tennessee Titans group, they couldn't even get near him. Baker Mayfield this year, when he's been protected, when he hasn't been under pressure, 21 touchdowns, 4 picks, a 111.9 passer rating. It's amazing what happens as a quarterback when you have your playmakers, but now all of a sudden you upgrade your protection and you get a play caller on top of that. That's the formula for success.
Great formula. Great stat. That's a great nugget. DJ, you're right. He was so well protected that the game was very, very easy for him. And it's one of the things that we talked about, the running game and the offensive line and how those things are a young quarterback's best friend. We're just seeing how the complementary approach that they're doing under Kevin Stefanski has really enabled Baker Mayfield to really play at a high level.